has $60 billion burning a hole in its pocket, and we're going to talk about how they plan to spend it. There's some new patents out there. We'll have Patrick tell us why they probably won't come to the parks. And we're also going to talk about Pixar Fest and March Madness and more tonight on ParksCenter. Welcome to ParksCenter for March 17th, 2024. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. We appreciate you guys, as always, for being with us. And if you have not already, of course, please subscribe to WDWNT TV for more great content and click that bell for notifications. Also, give us a thumbs up as it helps people to find us. And these folks have traveled near and far to come to you tonight so they can talk to you on this, the holiest of St. Patrick's Days. So let's start with Kamila. How are you?
Hi, happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. I'm sorry I forgot to wear green.
That's the thing. Desi?
I also forgot to wear green. Sorry, but happy St. You Day, Patrick.
Just Mr. Patrick Hackett. Yeah.
It's me!
Yeah.
It's my day!
It's a me!
I would have done such a better job than Chris Pratt. I just want to make that clear.
Probably. Can I just share with you, I did not forget that it was St. Patrick's Day, and I was going to wear green, and then realized in front of a green screen it's going to be a bad idea. At least I realized it before the show started, or else it was going to look super awkward. I literally picked up the green shirt and went, why wouldn't I wear this? Oh, yeah, that's right, because green screen. So thank you guys for being with us, and on your St. Patrick's Day, we appreciate it. I think most people probably did their partying either during the day or last night or whatever. So thank you guys for being with us. We appreciate
not
it.
right now?
You're partying now? You can party now.
All right, word.
My
Let's
boy
go.
likes to party all the time. Let's
And
talk
dance
a
on the
little bit.
ceiling.
Oh, what a feeling. So we are talking first about this money, and we've talked about this a lot, but Disney got a little bit more specific about how they plan to spend this $60 billion in parks over the next 10 years. And so when we look at the breakdown of it, one of the things that they said that they wanted to do was to spend 20% of it on the Disney Cruise Line, 30% of it would go to technology and maintenance, and 50% of it would go to parks and resorts. What we were told earlier, though, was that 70% of it was going to go to capacity. This is where it starts getting dicey. And Patrick, I'm going to throw it to you after this one, because they told us it goes to capacity. Of course, immediately I'm thinking, well, they're going to spend 70% of it at Disney World and Disneyland. Nah, that's not going to happen. Here it says 20% of that is capacity on cruise lines. So then the other 50% will go towards the parks, and it's not all domestic. So what are your thoughts here, buddy?
It's tough to see this stuff and get your hopes up and then have them immediately just destroyed. People are talking it's going to go to Tokyo. Let's make it clear that Tokyo has the Oriental Land Company. That's their money. Very little Disney investment goes to Tokyo. But Shanghai, Hong Kong, Paris, which already has, a BMX show coming there. They should have thrown rollerblades in there, right, Desi? I think that we need capacity in Orlando desperately. And we're going to talk a little bit later about Disneyland Forward, or is that now?
We're going to talk about it now, but before we say anything else, I would like to say that we already, thank you, Desi, for picking up the mantle and doing a little bit of dancing for us. We are already have a super chat. Let's see if we have it here. Nope. It is from Mickey Cheers. It says, Happy St. Patrick's Day, WDWNT gang. Thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate you. Look at that. Fireworks. That's even better. That's even better. So thank you so much for doing that. Yeah, part of that, Patrick, the Disneyland Forward project is actually moving forward. I almost put that in the text tonight, and I went, is moving ahead. It's moving ahead. So for those of you that don't know about the Disneyland Forward project, it is in Anaheim. They have made this proposal that they're looking to buy up a little bit more space with the street, the Magic Way that's there. And then they're also looking to try to expand the parks out into where the parking lots are on the other side of the road. Originally, there was a thought they would do a third park, and then it was like, no, they're going to take the 2 parks and expand out that way. And that's capacity that is obviously desperately needed. I'm going to throw this to Kamila next to talk a little bit about that. I mean, you've been out there. I'm sure you're just wishing that some of those parking lots would be actual park.
No, absolutely. For me, the key word is capacity, and investment on capacity, and particularly in Disneyland. And not that I don't think, Disney World deserves, some of this goodness as well, but I think in Disneyland, it is just so needed. It feels like every time I go there, they've somehow found a way to cram more and more people into areas that are very heavily still being worked on. They just desperately need it. Disneyland feels like it's forever busy. And I think this is exciting. Like, if they say they're going to spend money, they had this big meeting with the Anaheim City Council, and these are all good signs. And I feel like we all have PTSD a little bit because, I'll believe it when I see it. And it probably will be a long time before we really see anything tangible. But, these are important steps that hopefully get us to a place where, we've got, at the very least, more room in Disneyland. It'd be great to see some new gates, though, as well.
We have all the capacity we need because Universal's setting up more parks. So that's going to lead to lots of capacity for everybody. You know what, Desi, Kamala said we don't need more stuff at Disney World. Thoughts? Counter proposal?
I don't know when's the last time you've been to Disney World, but I think we could definitely use some more capacity. But something I think is interesting is that they have already announced that they want to purchase land. And when they had the Florida project, they didn't tell anybody they were purchasing land. They did everything in secret so that nobody knew that it was Disney going up in there and buying up all the land. Otherwise, they knew the price was going to go up. I'm shocked that they're going to go ahead and say, yeah, we're interested in buying some of the land around us, instead of just trying to buy it quietly. I feel like that is not a good business move.
Yeah, no, I agree. By the way, I turned the sound way down on this. Is this better? Actually, you can't even.
No, you need to be up, my guy. You're awfully quiet.
Oh, I'm awfully quiet. Okay, no,
yeah, you are.
I thought it was the the March Madness sounder that was actually.
No, you're super quiet.
Can you hear me now?
Good.
There we go. So then let's do this again for Jungle Cruiser. Ah, man, it didn't do it. Where's my volume?
Don't break the show.
There we are. There we are. So Jungle Cruiser, I believe I will believe Disney when there's actual construction equipment in action. Until then, all lies. I mean, we've talked about that before. Like Velocicoaster, they were building the thing, the track was almost done, and Universal's like, I don't know what's going in there, and then they finally announced it, and it's already done. But
even
Patrick,
if there is construction equipment and work being done, it doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. Like, Toy Story Land got axed while it was being built. It means nothing. Do you remember the Disneyland Forward concept art that had a Wakanda? If it does that, I will find a way and I will eat a hat. I will get an edible hat of some sort if Wakanda actually shows up in Disneyland.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I mean, and again, to what Patrick's referring to is they had talked about the idea of that e-ticket attraction, the original one that they had talked about before, the King Thanos one coming to Avengers Campus, the one with the jetpacks and all that, making that part of the Wakanda, like a world of Wakanda that would be part of the parks, and I would love to see that. It still seems like that should be somehow adjacent to Avengers Campus, and where they've got it in the plan is like on the other side of the street. It's kind of weird, but again, Disneyland Forward has gone to the next phase, but it's not approved yet, and Anaheim has knocked out a bunch of projects for Disney in the past, so even that is not a done deal, like Jungle Cruiser said, until there's equipment and they're cleaning. Even then, like, they closed down the AMC theaters and the Rainforest Cafe because there was a hotel 100% going there at that end of downtown Disney in Anaheim, and then they were like, no, you know what, we don't want you to do that. Sorry. And so then it's just like, okay, well, we'll build a Villas Tower and be done. So anyway, there is a lot of roadway still to go ahead. 10-year plan. Just like any other thing that Disney does, they can wait until year 10 to spend all this money. And in 10 years, 60 billion, I mean, what's that really going to do? I don't know. Drop in the bucket. Who knows? Speaking of investments, though, there are some coasters. And by the way, I thought about clickbaity, like new coasters coming, but they're not coming here. So I thought, nope, not going to do that. There are coasters coming to Shanghai. There was an announcement that they are going to build a new attraction and most likely a coaster. We don't know much about that. There is an announcement that we know the name of the new Tokyo Space Mountain. I think it is called Earthrise. That is correct. And then this one, and Desi, I'm going to go straight to you on this one. Rumor is there's a Mandalorian roller coaster and Fantasyland expansion possible for Disneyland Paris. Let's go. When did you already pack, or what's the deal?
As soon as I saw this, I was like, well, looks like I'm going back to Paris. I mean, I didn't need much to make me want to go back to Paris anyway. So as soon as this, well, I'm not going to say as soon as, because I'll probably give it a few months at least for the crazy crowds to die down maybe a little bit. But yeah, as early as possible. I am getting a ticket to Paris as soon as I can because I need to be on that roller coaster. If it's Mandalorian themed, if it's got Grogu on it, I am in. Let's go.
You know what, though? I'm a little disappointed. I want them to do something bigger with Mandalorian IP. Like, I want something Rise. Like, I want Rise, but like Mandalorian out of that one. And you can take a look and see what they're talking about. Obviously the Discoveryland, the big rocket to the moon Space Mountain, and then behind it building a Star Wars land, which I believe was originally slated for the studio's parks, and they decided to move over here to Disneyland Paris proper. And then they're going to have a Fantasyland expansion in there too, which Patrick, I think that comes out of that 60 billion, doesn't it?
Certainly seems like that would be coming out of that 60 billion, and that seems like a pretty large chunk of change over there. If you haven't done Disneyland Paris and you're looking for a Disney excuse to go to Paris, which you shouldn't, Paris is, a beautiful, magical place. Go there. It's an amazing time. You don't need to wait, but probably wait. It's kind of small. It's like a 2-day park. It's really awesome. But yeah, this seems like a lot of our money. And I say our money because I need things in Orlando because there's so many DVC rooms. Somebody pointed out in the chat, DVC rooms aplenty coming. Where are these people going to go? You're just going to have long lines and no one's spending money.
But see, that's what comes back to me for like why I've thought Fifth Gate for so long, and everybody always says just take the rose-colored glasses off. It's never going to happen. They're not going to do a Fifth Gate. But when you look at all of the hotels they have at Disney World, we have 25 plus hotels plus all the DVC rooms. It seems ridiculous that we have 4 parks. And in California, we have 3 hotels and 2 parks. Like the averages, it doesn't quite average out very much. I know that's a locals park.
Well, it's the Best Western right there.
Yeah, and that's not even all of the other ones that have been built around it. So that's a thing. Yeah, exactly. So I'm just a little bit upset about all of that, and I agree. I think some of that money's coming out of the pockets of what they're planning on doing for Disneyland and. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that shakes out. I am pretty excited to see a Mandalorian coaster. Like I said, I'd rather them do something like dark ride-ish and animatronics with that IP. Maybe there's like a Seven Dwarfs Mine Train inside. We get to see stuff. I don't know.
I was thinking it was going to be something like Cosmic Rewind, where it's like maybe you kind of see Mando fly in his jetpack next to you or something.
Indoor coaster. I'd be down for that.
Indoor,
that would be cool.
Yeah, with some screens.
Patrick, we've talked about patents in the past, and especially like the last time we were talking about the movable floor, and you're like, yeah, you're never going to see this come to the parks. This is just something they're saying. Well, we've got some more. So one of them is this Disney files for a patent for a floating pram, possibly inspired by The Mandalorian. Possibly. Like, what else would you do with a floating pram? I feel like Kamila, I feel like this is they probably have Mando and they have the child, and the child is in his pocket, and people are like, nah, that's not good enough for me, and they're like, oh, we got to come up with something. Do you see them like breaking out the floating pram for anything other than this?
I feel like it's got to be like what we're thinking. And it seems like it wouldn't necessarily be that difficult to do almost like a combination of like an animatronic and a droid. And it just seems like that would be the coolest thing if they were able to bring that to Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah. I was reading the chat, and Neko said that she thought when I said indoor that I meant Endor as in the planet, like the moon of Endor. But no, that would be cool too. Let's do that. Yeah, I think that I saw some footage or like a photo of Mando and Boba Fett walking around Galaxy's Edge. Probably not our Galaxy's Edge on the East Coast, Patrick, but probably the one in Disneyland, because they get everything. But it, like, Grogu gets kind of lost in that, and he's kind of like the big feature, I feel like. But Patrick, do you think this is going to happen or not?
This is definitely a believe it when I see it. Also, for everyone who ever accuses this website of being clickbait, we use the word possibly for a floating pram when it is quite clearly going to be designed after Grogu. What else could this possibly be used for? What am I going to put my child in it? You're going to let my kid float around the park? Sure, let's go with that. This, out of all the ones that we've seen, I think probably has the greatest chance of coming to fruition. I would say it's like 50-50 versus other stuff that I think are like 20-80 of 20% of them happening. I'd love to see it. I mean, we need more in our Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. The other patent that was filed was for Universal, but I found this interesting and wanted to share this. Is this thing on the arm which looks like what I don't know,
Captain N. You remember Captain N?
No, I was gonna say that Peyton Manning would wear on his arm, like
for all his play calls.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It says Universal files patent for interactive wayfinder, not wavefinder, Moana, but wayfinder, wearable navigation device, and it's huge. And so when you look into what it says it could do, it has a screen on it that would point guests to destinations, make suggestions, etc. So, Desi, a Magic Band Plus, basically, is what we're. Is that what this is?
No, and I'm never going to use it because I don't go to Universal. But I did want to talk about the baby Grogu pram.
Talk about it.
Okay. I think it's a great idea. I want to see it. But I think the nice thing about him being kind of in the pouch on Mando's side is that he, like, a family can go up and take a picture and everything's fine. I cannot imagine what it would be like to try to take a kid up next to Grogu and get a picture without that kid breaking it. I would be so terrified of my kid breaking like millions of dollars worth of, somebody's ideas.
Grogu.
More proof we can't have nice things.
Traumatizing
right. I mean,
everyone else.
We all remember that playtesting of droids in Tomorrowland where the children were like kicking the droid or riding the droid or and the parents were just like, oh, let me just take some pictures while this kid is, having just the time of its life messing
we
up
need
everything
to have Chopper
else.
and have Chopper regulate. That's
Wow.
what we need. Yeah. Just a little taste.
Okay.
Just a little smidge of a taste. Who is going to wear that thing at Universal? Who?
I know, like, again, it's like this whole huge like gauntlet that they've got going on there.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the only thing you think
fingers
of, like,
on the top of it.
An Infinity
Can't
Gauntlet.
I just look at my phone to figure out where I need to go?
That's so it's been done, really. So I don't really think anybody's
so
into
obvious.
that. It's just it's too obvious. It's too obvious. Nobody wants
Passe.
that. Yeah. Let's talk about something else fun. When this broke, I was so excited. We all remember where we were when we saw that Johnny Depp was inside of Pirates of the Caribbean. Again, Patrick, all this stuff happens in California. Doesn't happen in Florida. But he was inside Pirates of the Caribbean, giving guests a thrill. Did the same thing with the Mad Hatter when Alice came out and, kind of talking directly to him. That was kind of cool. But now, the original OG flight attendant, Patrick Warburton, showed up at Soarin' over California, and I wondered if it was because it was Soarin' over California as some way to introduce that to people. But man, that was pretty cool for me to see that, because that's our favorite. My problem was this crowd was not as into it as they should have been. That was my biggest problem with this.
I didn't watch the video. That's upsetting.
Yeah. So, like, first of all, the mustache throws me off a little bit. You couldn't have shaved for this? Come on, Patrick. I mean, really. But other than that, I mean, he looks great. He's standing
front,
there.
Just like kind of.
Yeah, they're just standing there,
head,
and I'm just like, I would be losing my freaking. Look how calm they are. How dare they?
I would not be that calm. I would
how
not
dare
be that
they?
calm. No.
Yeah, yeah. So I would like to flex a little bit that I posted about this on Twitter, and I was very excited about it. I tagged Patrick Warburton, and Patrick Warburton liked 2 of my posts. What?
Wow.
One of them where I called him a national treasure. You're welcome.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. But again, I mean, Desi, tell me, like, they didn't react enough. That was my thing. It's like, it's so exciting.
On the floor, I would be dead. I mean, he has aged like a fine wine, by the way. He looks great. Even with the mustache.
Sponge-worthy indeed.
If I saw him, I would be freaking out. I would be losing my mind. I mean, maybe not as much as if I saw Eric Von Detten on rollerblades in the park, but still, I would be freaking out. Please, can we have something cool like this at Walt Disney World? I would love, and the fact that he even gave a Kronk quote, well, not like a direct Kronk quote, but in that vein of Kronk, I thought was adorable.
Yeah, I had somebody say to me, "Who's Patrick Warburton?" I was like, "Come on."
No.
The Tick? Are you kidding me? Putty from Seinfeld? What? Yeah. I mean, okay. So, Kamila, I don't know how you felt about this, but clearly, Desi's got Patrick Warburton on her hall pass, I guess. So I don't know.
No, I thought this was awesome. I love when like Disney can do really unique things like this. I feel like maybe some people in the crowd not really like fully comprehending what's going on is just what happens, when you have all kinds of guests, some who will be very well versed in Disney and some who won't. But it almost seems like this is something you should do like during like the expo or at some point where you have a ton of just huge Disney fans who are going to immediately recognize and truly appreciate. And, given how upset I feel like a lot of Disney fans are with Disney lately, like what a fun way to kind of like, soften people up a bit. So I just feel like, if I just feel like to do it like randomly, it's like, come on, be more strategic, Disney.
Again, I just thought that the level of excitement was here. It needed to be here with everybody. Like, that's him. And he even said something about, where to stow those little beauties, or nice work, pal. He said both those things. And I'm like, from anybody else, okay, dad joke, cheesy.
If he had said nice work, pal to me, I would be on the floor. I would have fainted. There's no, and it didn't seem like the person he said it to had any clue. She was just like, okay, thanks.
I don't know how you would figure that out, but yeah.
This is why Disneyland doesn't deserve nice things.
Okay, calm down.
No.
So here's the thing that probably most of the time I wouldn't bring up on ParksCenter, because we do try to get you guys the top stories from Disney news from the past week in 60 minutes. And so we usually try to make sure we're pretty clear on that. I think this deserves a conversation, because there are a lot of things that when my kids were little, they wanted in the park. And then when I was little, that I wanted in the park. And, I remember wanting like little flashlights and things, and my dad would be like, nah, you don't need that. Or like when my daughter was little and the bubble wands came out for the first time. This thing looks like the R&D department may have whiffed on this one, but maybe they have invented the next cool thing. So the top of this thing is a blow-up balloon. Not a balloon, it's just like an inflatable thing, and it's got a glowing wand handle to it. Desi, do you think you're going to grab one of these for your boys? This is a weird thing, right? I mean, am I wrong?
When I first saw this, I was thinking to myself, that is the ugliest effing glow stick I've ever seen. However, the fact that it's inflatable on the end, I think about when my kids have their bubble wands or their lightsabers, how they're constantly hitting each other over the head with it. And I'm like, no, 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 no. But the fact that it's inflatable, I would feel more comfortable with them having it and, trying to, not that I'm comfortable with them trying to whack each other, but like, I'm not as concerned about a head injury.
So what you're saying is that somebody made these so that your kids could go American Gladiator on each other. Is that what you're telling me? And you're here for
That was
it?
literally my first thought.
They're going to go American Gladiator. Either way, you might as well have something inflatable instead of hard plastic.
Were you in on the research and development for this one? Is that what the thing was? You got focus grouped onto this one?
Definitely
well, I'd like
not
something
on the
that just should
design,
glow,
I still think it's
but not
ugly.
just one color, and it should be like soft on the end, but I should be able to blow. Yeah, it's $30, Patrick. It's $30. Are you getting one?
Is it deflatable too? Because I read the article and I didn't see that once it's out, you can put it back.
I would assume so.
All right, so then I'm pretty cool with it. Like, I don't hate it. I wish they would design a new bubble wand and one that has a little bit of staying power. We were actually playing with our bubble wands today, and our Disney bubble wands are just not cutting it. Where I have a store-bought Paw Patrol one that's been outside since August. We turned that puppy back on, started bubbling right away. I think it's pretty cool. I like it. I'm not opposed to it. I think it's great because one of the things is we can't bring balloons home. And to have an ability to get a balloon, 2 fingers, I don't know why I did one, I'm good with it. Let's deflate it and bring it back. And also my daughter can hit people with it, and I don't feel as bad.
Yeah, and Kamila, so you agree with all this? It's the best of balloon bubble wand and all in one?
I just feel like even I, as an adult who knows better for sure, I want to grab one and I just want to like immediately start hitting people with it. Like I just feel like it invites that, and I can't wait to see like little like brothers and sisters just like each getting one and just going at it like just bopping each other constantly, and everyone around them too, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. So what you're saying is everyone is already ready to grab one and start beating people with it. It's like Bat Day at Yankee Stadium. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, 100%.
Cool. Yeah. So we let's move on. We heard about this, and there were BMX bikes, and they're putting together a little show in Paris. And these are not blades, so it's not Brink. But I mean, it might as well be, right? Yeah, I'm sorry. You'll get over it though. It'll be fine. They have announced not only what the show is going to be, and this is again Disneyland Paris. They've announced the name of the show, but this artwork and these costumes. As soon as I showed this to my son, he said, "So Alice is going to ride on a BMX bike dressed like that?" And I was like, "No. I think there'll be other people on the bikes, I would assume, but it's going to be called Alice and the Queen of Hearts Back to Wonderland." So here's Alice. Here's the Queen of Hearts. Here's the Mad Hatter, and then Patrick.
In the
what
world?
is Patrick? What is? What
Isn't
am I
it
looking at here?
that's that thing at the beginning of the movie? I don't know if it has a name.
Okay.
Fuzzy Lumpkins. That's a Powerpuff Girl thing. What? Man, everybody in this show is too attractive, and it weirds me out. It makes me uncomfortable. I need. This is awakening things in me that I didn't know about.
Okay. I don't know where you're going with this, but let's stop.
Are you
right
getting
there.
No. BMX curious?
I wish it was rollerblades. It would be a lot better if it was rollerblades.
100%.
They're missing out. Also, who asked for this?
The French asked for this.
No,
Here's the other thing
didn't.
too. In 2005, they did a thing where they brought Lights Motors Action, this huge show from Paris to Disney World, right? They brought Lights Motors Action. In 2020, they closed Lights and Motors Action, and this is taking its place. That's the thing that's kind of like throwing me, is that this is going to be in the place where there was a Lights Motors Action. The one in Florida was a huge stadium, so I don't know, Desi, if you ever went to that show. I assume you did, but I can't imagine taking that kind of footprint and putting a BMX show in it. This seems more like Tarzan Rocks.
I mean, I guess I'll just have to wait and see, because when I go for the Mando coaster, I'm obviously going to have to check this out. It seems very strange, but I mean, maybe they've got a whole bunch of ramps and they're doing cool things, and that's why they need all of that space that Lights, Motors, Action was in. Because yeah, that does seem like a lot of space for a stage show. But I mean, we probably have about that same amount of space for Indiana Jones, and I still love that show, even though there's no cars in it.
Kamila, when they pitched this, when they pitched a BMX show, Kamila, did you immediately go, this will go perfect with Alice in Wonderland?
No, that was literally one of my okay, so my first thought honestly was like, why is Paris so weird? What, this is so weird. Like a BMX show? Do they even have BMX over there? Like I don't know. Like and then to not only have it be BMX, which is so random, it's not magical, it doesn't feel like Disney, but then why is Alice in Wonderland the one doing the BMX? Like, shouldn't there be another IP? I don't know which one. Maybe the Cars can do BMX, because why not? It's already like weird enough. But I don't know. This is so weird to me. I don't get it. Yeah. I don't get it.
Yeah, I was reading the chat, and Fire Chief 66 said a lot of BMX fans in Paris are hardcore Alice freaks. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, maybe the data shows it. Like, let's go with the data on that one. That makes a lot of sense. I know, Desi, you're going to hop on a plane for the Mandalorian, but would you hop on a plane for this one? You're just going to accidentally see it if you happen to be over there.
If they were on rollerblades, yeah, but no, not for BMX.
Whew.
We're never going to let it die, Rob. Let us do it again.
No, we are not.
You know what? Maybe this will be like the new Kite Tales, like the show at Animal Kingdom. But that was actually good. But I remember when I first heard about it, I was like, they're gonna what? So maybe this will be like that.
All this build up, and then it's gonna be like 3 weeks, and then they're gonna go shut it down. Yep. All right, so let's talk about the gates at Disneyland. For those of you who have been to Disneyland, it still feels like you're entering a 1960s carnival when you go in there. Those gates are so small. They're still old school turnstiles. I get why they might want to do that. There's something charming about it, but at the same time, it feels like there's a better system out there, and perhaps we're on the precipice of a better system. The system is very similar to the one that they're using in Paris, home of the Alice BMX show. And so it actually has touch points on it, which I think is cool, because they don't still seem to want to embrace magic bands in California, and it's got a much wider passageway so that you could actually take a stroller through it, and then it's got the screen that would let you check in and move through freely. So I've said this before. I think from an operations standpoint, Disneyland seems to be very far behind where we are at Walt Disney World, but at the same time, I think this would shoot them up the ladder. And I'm going to throw this to you, Kamila, because again, you've walked through those Disneyland gates more than any of us.
Yeah, no, any sign of improvement is huge, because one of the most daunting things about visiting Disneyland is if you go, especially if you're trying to get in for rope drop or even early entry, whatever it is, that line can be extremely long. And I think if you visit Disney World frequently, you all have gotten spoiled, right? Your security process has been improved, and just your ability to get in the parks pretty quickly, for the most part, it is, very doable, very realistic. You're not waiting in 10, 15, 20-minute lines. At Disneyland, if you go, especially if you're trying to go rope drop or, really almost any time before 10:30, it can be huge, daunting lines, and they don't move quickly because they might be taking photos, or it's just a very slow process, and most people are not using magic bands to tap in. And so they have to find a way to improve it, because you're literally losing time standing in those lines, and they move very slow.
Yeah, I agree. Patrick, you just recently been to Disneyland for your first time last year. When you went up to the gates, was it weird that they said, "Oh, stop, let me take your picture"? Was that weird?
I was like, why do I have this paper ticket? Is this a fast pass? What's happening here? What
year is it?
Is that why do we have Magic Bands in Disney World and they just started really getting used in Disneyland? Why are they different on the cruise line? Why aren't all the parks using them? If they're so great, we should be using them everywhere. We shouldn't have to have a different band if we want to go on a cruise. I think we talked about this with the gates. I just don't want the gates to lose their essence in there. I think there's an important style aspect that's not just about the functionality.
Yeah, like
no,
I said,
shut up, Patrick. You don't know what you're talking about. The point is to get in the park, okay? However we can do that the most efficiently, that's what we're going to do. No, like the charm for the gate, be so for real. Stop talking.
I like charm. It's a charming park.
Okay, you can stand in the line where they'll keep one just for you and people like you, okay? You can stand in that line for 30 minutes.
I've experienced that line. I did not like it. I walked out of California Adventure. I saw the line to get in Disneyland. I'm like, I'll just turn around. I can do more here.
Dude, yeah, that run back and forth at night with the people who know that they can go from the fireworks over to see World of Color and come back to catch Fantasmic when it's there, and just that scuttle, it looks like something out of the Flintstones, everybody running over to this side and then running back over to this side. It's I don't know, but they need to do something better, and it still is weird to me, to your point, Patrick, that we don't have one system everywhere because it's the same company. You know, it should operate, you would think, the same way. But they just, like, when I wear a Magic Band at Disneyland and they have to, like, scan it rather than scan a ticket or my phone, I think they were like, what? Why aren't you getting with the program? Why are you doing this Magic Band thing? That's crazy. Because I paid money for it. That's why. Speaking of Disneyland, let's talk about Pixar Fest. Speaking of things that they have out there that we don't have on the East Coast, on April 26th, the festivities begin for Pixar Fest, and of course WDWNT will be there covering it, but we already have a preview of some of the cool things that are happening. Some of the things I wanted to run down real quick is they're going to do a nighttime party at DCA, and I remember going to Electronica. I remember going to the Mad Hatter's Tea Party. All of those were really cool events, so this Club Pixar looks like it is a return to those kind of events. We also have this parade that is going to be the Better Together Pixar Palace Celebration. This Luca cracks me up. Honestly, it looks like a dude standing in a bathtub, but I get the effect so that, you know, the stuff you see underwater is going to be, Luca in merman form, and then above the water, just like standing there waving. It's again, there's something about it that seems weird. I love the wordplay on this food. They have the elemental table, the 4-town favorites. The hangar management. I mean, come on, somebody got big bucks for coming up with that stuff. And oh my gosh, this popcorn bucket. This one comes out this week, which has nothing to do with Pixar Fest other than the fact that I have to show popcorn buckets. But this one is even so good that maybe, Kamila, you would get that one. No?
It's really cute. Well, I will say I want the what is it? Pizza. What is the name of the shop? The Pizza
Planet?
Pizza Planet, thank you. There's like the baseball jersey that's Pizza Planet, and they had one before, but it looks like they have a new one. It looks so cute, and I have literally waited for so long to be able to try to get one of these. So that's like top of my list. But no, I think the Pixar Fest, like I'm really excited to see that they are finally getting the hint to like use the dead space in DCA, and it sounds like with the night party, that's kind of what they're doing. And I love the idea of like walking by that little area, and maybe there's some music, maybe there's some dancing. People are drinking in that park anyway, so it's not unlikely that we'll have a very lively environment. But I think all of this sounds really nice. The parade sounds so fun, and like I'm not even a huge Pixar person, but I would love to see the parade.
Well, let me ask you this. I was looking at the parade floats, and like I said, the Luca one looks interesting to me. But this, and they're drawings. But this one, Joe Gardner standing up on the top of this thing, looking like he could not be more out of place. I feel like, why didn't they give him like a baby grand piano or something to sit at? Like,
it's weird for me to somebody else on the piano.
Yeah, it's weird for me to see him standing there by himself.
It is weird.
I don't know, but
It
again,
is weird.
anytime we've seen a depiction of Joe Gardner, like the one we see over at
It's just a dude.
the hotel,
It's just
a dude standing there playing at like a baby grand, and that seems like that's kind of his costume. And this guy just standing there up there in a purplish suit, and somebody else playing the keyboard for him. Like, I don't remember Joe being like the singer, so like a little bit weird, right?
No,
I don't know.
like when they had drawing in, I don't remember what parade that was, but they had Walt drawing, but he wasn't actually drawing. Just have the guy pretending to play the piano while you just have piano music coming from the float. You don't need to hire somebody who can actually play the piano like you did at the hotel. Just for the sake of the float, just get a guy who kind of looks like him and pretending to play the piano. Why is somebody else playing?
I could not answer that for you, but yeah. Patrick, any final thoughts before we move on?
It's just a guy in a hat. It's
Yeah.
just.
I mean,
it's just a
overall,
guy in a
Pixar
hat.
Fest. Overall, Pixar Fest, I'm very excited about. I want to go and find some time
I do
between
too.
April
It
and
looks
August
great.
to get out there. The food looks fun. The merch, as Kamila, you said, looks great. The parade, again, filling up that space over there at DCA. It looks like they've, added some things. That nighttime party was always a fun thing and a good opportunity to do something and drag people away from World of Color. So, all of that looks fun. I hope to get to be there and try it out. So, let's go to our final regular topic before we get into March Madness recap. It came from the parks. This is the place where we go through the website wdwnt.com and find some of the stranger stories that have come through recently. And so I've got 3. One of them is a little bit. One of them is very sad. So I don't know that any of you will choose it, but these are the 3 we have. The way this works is that I'll read all the headlines, and then we'll go around, starting with Kamila, clockwise, and everybody picks one to talk about, and you can pick the same one. Everybody can pick the same one. I know there's one that's probably going to be more popular this week than the rest. So let's go through and pick out the headlines. So the first one that we have here is a New Jersey man arrested at Magic Kingdom after being caught answering a stolen cell phone. Again, the longer the headline, the more ridiculous they are sometimes. Woman swims topless in Sassagoula River at Disney's Port Orleans Resort. And then the last one is the doctor who died from an allergic reaction after a Raglan Road meal. There's been a follow-up of some changes there. That's just, it's very sad that this happened. So I don't know that we're going to want to talk about that one, but these are the ones that we picked out. We'll start with Kamila and see where you want to go here.
I mean, the woman in the river. What's funny, luckily she lived, I guess, to, be thrown out, and she wasn't, taken out in a different way. But I saw the video from this one, and just not a care in the world. She's in there, she's swimming around, she's, grazing. Just no concerns. And it was fascinating to me because, like, sometimes, when I'm staying on Disney property, I'll watch the water and I'll be like, can I see anything? Do I see anything? Because, you always hear, like, if there's water, if there's dark water, like, there's definitely alligators. How did she not get, I don't know, bothered by them, let's call it. But also just, like, what is going through your mind? Like, pools are nearby. And so I need to know more, but, like, it seems like there's a lot of breakdowns happening in the parks and people just doing very strange things. And she's lucky that all that happened to her it sounds like she was trespassed ultimately.
Yeah. Looking
I
at
don't know if she got a brain-eating amoeba, though.
True. That yeah. Lisa said she had to be drunk, right? And Dawn said, not sure why I'm surprised people are dumb enough to swim in Florida freshwater. Yeah, I would like to stay as far away from that as I can. I mean, I don't even want to accidentally step in it, much less to go, to go swimming in it. So, Patrick, same one or a different one? Where are you at?
I'm going to hit all 3. You ready? I'm going to do it real quick. I'm going to hit all 3. Number 1, stay out of the water that you're not supposed to be in Walt Disney World. It is a good way to end your life early and end up on a t-shirt. Number 2, if you steal a phone, don't answer it. And then don't try and bribe the person that you stole the phone from. Like, bro, you stole that's probably their money you're giving back to them. That's the most absurd thing I've ever seen. And finally, the really sad one. This is incredibly important. Allergies are not something to mess around with. And the way to get people that care more is to make sure you're taking care of your cast members, that they don't feel underappreciated, that they don't feel tired, that these people are going in there at the top. And please, if you have an allergy, speak to the chef. Make sure they know how serious it is. Take care of yourself, and cast members, please take care of these people. We don't need this. This is really sad.
Yeah. And the thing is that every time I've been with somebody who has an allergy, the cast could not have been better. I've always said to people who have gluten allergies or who are vegan, it seems like the best place in the world to go would be Disney World, because they seem to really take care of you depending on what you need. And that's just, a lot of those are preference, but gluten allergy is a thing, and also tree nuts and such. So I think they do an amazing job, and they are very always careful about what they do. So this is just, again, a very sad story. We'll finish up here with Desi. What do you got? Which one?
For this woman who was swimming topless, I'm going to go ahead and give her the benefit of the doubt that she's not from here. Similar to, unfortunately, that child who, in like 2016, he was from North Dakota. His family had no idea because, lakes over there, they don't have alligators. Everyone goes swimming in them, and it's not a big deal. People need to, I guess, read up on Florida some more before you come here and visit, because there's some scary things going on in our water, from alligators. I'm going to assume maybe she's foreign, from like Europe or something, where it's okay to swim topless. So I'm not going to judge her on that. Different cultures have different, and judge somebody else by American standards when they, their culture might be different. But so I'm not going to judge her on the topless thing. I'm not necessarily going to judge her on the swimming thing, because maybe where she comes from, everybody swims in rivers and lakes and it's not a big deal. But please, if you're watching this from somewhere else and you don't know about Florida and our water, it is disgusting. You don't want to get in it. There's so many things that can hurt you. Just don't do it.
So what you're saying is, please stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. Is that the message
Oh my God.
that you're
Don't
giving us
go
here?
chasing waterfalls.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
don't creep. Don't keep it on the down low. Stay visible and in the appropriate swimming areas.
That's the thing. Disney World is known for its pools. There are so many pools, and they actually use treatments in there. I don't even want to drink the water.
Those pools are great at Port Orleans.
Less,
They're so much fun.
Well, currently, though, the one at the French Quarter is currently being refurbished for your future enjoyment. So maybe that was the problem. She was like, I just need to swim, and I can't do it here. So let me just do it over there. That could be, maybe not. All right. So let's move on. For those of you who don't know, and again, we talked about this last week, March Madness happens on News Tonight. We talk about the top 64 of something. And I think we talked about last week when we were on here that most of us, before we even got involved with WDW&T, were excited about the opportunity for the brackets. Tonight was Selection Sunday, so the NCAA is kicking in. And so to mirror it for parks, we've always done things like top restaurant and the top table service, or the top counter service, or the top attraction, or the top ride vehicle. And every year it gets a little more weird, because they're looking for new and different things. But the thing that we always come back to is you don't define enough what the criteria is. So this year it is structures, that includes buildings and facades and structures. And so it's the top 64 structures. They narrowed it down, and I say they, Desi was on that panel, from 64 to 32.
Recused.
She is, but
Nope.
before Patrick, you get into that, she has self-proclaimed herself last week as the sensible one on the panel.
I think I am.
Well, you did mention this week.
These other people we're voting for.
Well, you did mention this week, though, that you basically gave away your vote to someone who talked nice to you.
Votes for sale.
Rebuttal?
Yeah,
Rebuttal there?
I doubled the amount of money I made for being on News Tonight by doing that. So
Oh, of course you did. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this bracket. For those of you that did not watch it, the one that was the troublesome one this year was Gertie, and Gertie the dinosaur as a structure versus some amazing like structures. And so one of the differences that they were talking about on there was, is it something that emulates something else like the Chinese theater, or is it something that is an original property like the front to the Little Mermaid that looks like Eric's castle or some of those other things. So there was some weirdness this week, but not as weird as last week when Tom lit the super chats keep coming in. I think we had a little bit of an issue there, so they tried to shore that up this week, and they set a time on it that if you didn't have all your stuff in by exactly like 10:58, then it wasn't going to count towards that. Did they fix that, Patrick? Did you have any problems with that super chat? And again, the super chat would offset the actual voting that the panel did.
I had no problem with the super chat. I thought the super chats actually were used really well, and I appreciated the people that came out to secure victory for the right and ultimate winner. No, the super chat was cool, and I really don't think Tom let something go through. I think people buy into Tom and want to rally behind his causes. I mean, we saw it happen with the late great Josh from Easy WDW. He led that charge for Cosmic Rays to win. No, I really like it. I think Desi added a lot. I think Panda. This actually may be the best panel we had picking March Madness in the history. I love Jason. I love Jason dearly. But I think that his criteria was never great. It was always just Epcot. And I thought Tom leaned a little bit into that, like, Hollywood studios can do no wrong suddenly. It's, I like Gertie. Yeah. Gertie's cool. The Chinese theater's love was ridiculous. Ridiculous. How it was a 1 seed and how it went as far as it did. It's a building that's somewhere else. Just because you think it's nicer there than it is in Hollywood, or they use the blueprints to fix it. Like, it's a dumb building that we had to block with a hat for several decades.
Well, let me just tell you, the one that got on my nerves was Morocco, because it was such a joke. Because for those of you that don't know, the Morocco Pavilion.
I really love Morocco.
But the Morocco Pavilion was known because there was a chimney that looked like a phallic symbol, and therefore they fixed it, or I guess depending on how you feel about it, messed it up. But it is no longer there, and so they kept doing that as a joke, and it was basically the Sanjaya of this competition, where people kept pushing it through because it was funny, and not because it was the best. What about it?
Morocco
because you've been there.
My favorite. Morocco is legitimately my favorite pavilion in Epcot, with or without the chimney. I think it's gorgeous. I love Moroccan food. Shawarma is like my favorite food of all time. And I just think that it's beautiful, and the architecture is beautiful. And they had actual, people from Morocco come and be part of its design. Like the king even helped with its design. So yeah, I think Morocco.
They stopped paying for it, and now it's Agrabah.
Well, okay, so Kamila, I don't know how much of it you watch, but I gotta throw this one at you, because this is one that bothered me too. Because Gertie, and it was because of the people. The people reached out. It meant something to them to save Gertie, but Gertie beat Cinderella Castle.
No, this is why Disney is like, we're done with the legacy fans, because that's doing way too much. Like, Gertie needs a paint job. Like, what are we talking about? No, I disagree strongly. And I personally prefer Beast Castle over Cinderella Castle. So, but disagree.
All right, so this is where we were in the finals. Was Cinderella Castle beaten out by Gertie. Splash Mountain beat Morocco pretty handedly, and then came down to Gertie versus Splash Mountain and Splash Mountain like ran away with it. Even at that point, Tom wasn't even throwing that one a vote. And then down on this other one, the Wilderness Lodge building versus the Earful Tower. I loved how the panel kept saying it's just a water tower. Nick kept saying how this is like I've got one down the street from me. Journey into Imagination versus the Tree of Life, and the Tree of Life won that one, and then went up against Wilderness, and then lost that one. That I felt was interesting that Patrick, two of the park icons, which again, to me, the difference is, and I talked about this last week with the Millennium Falcon, when my wife comes around the corner and she sees the Millennium Falcon, it takes her breath away. The same thing with when you go and you see Cinderella Castle for the first time. I love the Gertie. I hoped, we worked on this Gertie plush and all that kind of stuff, but I've never been to the, walk in and be in awe of it in the same way that I am with some of these, like the Tree of Life. So, I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on that one.
I was scolded by my wife for saying that Journey into Imagination should beat the Tree of Life. Scolded handily. Also scolded in my Star Wars fandom that I didn't think Millennium Falcon should have won, although I did think it should have went over the stupid Chinese theater.
You are wrong in both accounts.
The thing about this is it's subjective and it's fun. That's what this is supposed to be. I really like how far Wilderness Lodge went. I think that's a great testament to what can be done to make an authentically, distinctly Disney resort. And if Disney's watching, which I never think they are, but they could be, they should take that into consideration and maybe scrap that abomination they're building at Polynesian.
That train has left the station, buddy. That is happening. That has happened. You've got to say that. On this other side, you mentioned the Chinese theater was blown away by the Contemporary, which I think the Contemporary should be. It's it's distinctively Disney, as you've said. And then the Tower of Terror versus the Haunted Mansion. Tower, I agree, should have gone there, and so Tower moved on to go against the Contemporary. And then Space Mountain versus the Living Seas. Space Mountain for sure. And then Horizon versus Spaceship Earth, and then Spaceship Earth and Space Mountain, and then here are your finalists, where we got to Splash versus Wilderness. Wilderness won out on that one, and then it was Wilderness versus Spaceship Earth versus Tower, and Spaceship Earth won the entire thing. So Desi, I want to go to you on this one again. So do you feel like this was the right move? You've got your little Spaceship Earth cookie jar right next to you, so obviously you feel like justice was served.
I do think that Spaceship Earth deserved to win. I think that it is distinctively Disney. It's an architectural feat. It's beautiful. There's nothing bad I can say about Spaceship Earth. I do think that the castle and the Tree of Life should have gone further. I am surprised that Wilderness Lodge made it to the top two. I like Wilderness Lodge. I think it's gorgeous, but it's, as I said on the show, it's not even my favorite resort. It's probably number 3 after Animal Kingdom and the Poly. So I'm shocked that Wilderness Lodge made it to the top 2.
And do you feel justified in calling Tom out about the Horizon spaceship situation?
Yes.
Because I feel like,
yes.
Okay, you got your licks in on that one. Okay, cool. You know what? Again,
Horizons is that good looking. To be honest.
Yeah, but again, like some of the comparisons, like when Big Thunder Mountain was one of the ones in comparison, I was thinking about Big Thunder and thinking it is definitely one of those things that is massive and expansive and has all the different sides to it and is pretty fun to see. But I just think back to there should have been a very clear definition of what we were looking for, and to me, what I'm looking for is the emotion that it emotes when I walk in and I see it and what it does for me. And coming around that curve out of the Oasis into Discovery Island and looking ahead and seeing the Tree of Life is always a big deal for me, because it's so hidden until you turn that corner and it's right there
and I love all the
on
details.
display. Oh yeah, the 324, 25 animals carved into the base I think is pretty cool. But the same thing with walking under the tunnel into Magic Kingdom, coming around the corner, looking down Main Street, and seeing Cinderella Castle at the very end is pretty cool. Kamila, thoughts on this one? Do you think Spaceship Earth was the right one, or would you pick something else?
I think Spaceship Earth, like, at least it's an icon. So I guess and this is where my question about criteria would come in, is did the condition of the building matter at all? And I know when you start talking about like the interior, there's the queue, there's the ride itself. Because I think the only thing that would bother me about selecting Spaceship Earth to win it all is just knowing how much it needs to be renovated inside.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, again, he did say inside and out, and it does definitely need to be renovated.
That's a
Patrick.
great point that I didn't think of. That's a really good point. But we weren't supposed to judge it on the attraction. I know Rob is big into rules and parameters and what works and what doesn't. I like to go on the feeling and the emotion of it all. To me, next to Cinderella Castle, Spaceship Earth gives me that Disney feeling when I see it. It's a grand and miraculous spaceship. It is an absolute wonder of architecture, and I'm glad it won. I think it represents the Disney brand. Every park has a castle. Not every park has a Spaceship Earth. And I'm sure if Westcott got built like it was supposed to, people would be raving about it there as well.
Can I say one thing though? I saw a video about a Phantom of the Opera VR roller coaster, and it was on Twitter, and I saw it, and I was like, okay, first of all, the idea of a VR on a roller coaster makes me ill to think about, because sometimes I can't walk around with a VR on, much less shoot through like loops and things like that. But it's Phantom of the Opera, which seemed like a weird pull, but it's at this Europa Park in Germany. And so when I pulled up that Europa Park in Germany,
they also have one.
They also, so talk about distinctively Disney. But
I mean, that's Europa's gimmick though. That's their gimmick. It's like knockoff Disney stuff.
Yeah, no, I totally fine, but it feels like they shouldn't have been able to, but I get it. So anyway, yeah, I think that a park icon like that is one that, you know, I worked in Epcot. I loved that when my first day of training people, my lead said to me, when people refer to that or you're giving directions, tell them to turn left at the big golf ball, because they won't know when you say geodesic sphere or Spaceship Earth what you're talking about. And that was the case back in the day, is that everybody talked about it as the big golf ball. The other thing is it's got a ride in it, and that's the thing that I have heard people, again, what you hear walking around the park. I heard a little kid say, hey Mom, can we go to the big golf ball? There's actually a ride in it. And I'm thinking, didn't everybody know that? And apparently they don't, and that's the thing. So
Yeah,
you know, it's pretty exciting that it won. I think it deserved to win. I think it does represent Walt Disney World, like you said, Patrick. It's not, you know, we've got a castle out in California, we've got one in Paris, nothing like that.
Better castle in Paris.
A better castle in Paris, yes, exactly. So
Sure.
thank you guys for going through this with us. Again, we do this because ParksCenter got its start in kind of going and doing a recap about the March Madness, and so we honor that tradition with ParksCenter every year, and so thank you guys for doing that. We will be back again next Sunday night at 9 p.m. for ParksCenter. Even though News Tonight is on hiatus, we are still here live every Sunday night, except we're not going to be here Easter. I feel like everybody wants to have Easter off, so we're not going to be here for Easter, but we'll continue on being here live on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, sharing with you 60 minutes in parks news every week. I do want to give a shout out to Deep in the Plus, also a show we do on Wednesday nights. And that last Wednesday night, we did a St. Patrick's Day one with You Lucky Dog. Patrick and I always do something St. Patrick's Day to honor him in all ways. But then also this coming week, we have Home on the Range, and then after that, Rookie of the Year. So looking forward to doing that. And also want to give a big shout out to our wigs, the WDWNT Interglobe Society. We love our wigs. Thank you guys for being for coming and hanging out in the chat and talking with us. And there is a post show for our wigs after this. And if you are not familiar with it, it's our Patreon program. You can check it out at patreon.com/WDWNT. So happy selection night to everyone. I hope your teams made it into the bracket. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I hope you guys had a good time. We appreciate you hanging out with the original, the OG Patrick.
Definitely the first one.
The first one, exactly. And we will see you either in the post show, we'll see you on Deep in the Plus on Wednesday night, or we'll see you next Sunday on ParksCenter. Have a great week, everybody. Take care.
Bye, everyone. Dun. Dun, 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 dun.
That's never not perfect. It's never